Allie Beth Stuckey, who is a blogger, YouTuber, and is pretty prominent in the conservative Christian community. And a lot of what she speaks on is, conditionally about God and how that plays out with the government and the arguments that will be never ending when it comes to political views and political parties in general, and basically, in my opinion, demonizing either side of where you stand, your morals, so on and so forth. But let's try to remember that no matter where you are, um, when it comes to your core beliefs, your values, your morals, blah, 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 at the end of the day, it is supposed to be that God is the one who gives you that. God gives you the morals. God gives you everything that is your makeup as of today. And normally I don't do stuff like this. Normally I do not push my beliefs on other people, even though it happens to me more than I would like. As far as people wanting to believe me to believe their beliefs, wanting me to talk about what they want me to talk about, or wanting me to basically stay in their, you know, mental state of, wanting to argue, wanting to be combative, wanting to pick a fight, wanting me to be provoked, so on and so forth. So just remember that when I'm doing these types of videos, is that I'm not here to argue. Do I, know the Bible? Do I know God? Blah, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people just need to be right rather than be happy and move the fuck on. Okay? So, with that being said, the book, You Are Not Enough, and That's Okay. I have a few pinpoints that I want to discuss. And as to the reason why I want to discuss this is because I came across her video. A follower of mine and a good, supporter of mine, good friend of mine, whom I've gotten to know, and as well in the spiritual aspects of their beliefs. Um, he wanted me to basically give an opinion on the book. I did buy it. I did have a free credit that I totally forgot about. I had two free credits I totally forgot about on Audible. So thank you to Allie Beth Stuckey for um, thank you so much for using Audible as an option for your book, because not a lot of people do. A lot of people either forget. Some people just forget about the blind community and individuals that prefer audiobooks. You don't have to be blind. You don't have to have issues with reading. um, but I just appreciate her for using that option for those of us that cannot read regular print. I can't read regular print anymore. I just prefer the audio version, because it would be impossible for me to read. And I, with the book being fairly new, the book came out in 2020. With the book being fairly new, I highly doubt that it's in Braille. I mean, I could probably look into that. Um, but I figured that it wouldn't be. I kind of just, it's usually like the book has to be, I want to say, older than 5 years in order to be put into the Braille option, unfortunately. And the author has to authorize on that. So that I do not know. But I will probably give the services that I use a call. But I just, I just bought the audio version just in case, and I now, have that as a reference and something that is, something that is basically something to remind me of if I were to ever get into that state where, you know, the devil creeps in or demons try to take over, as me being recovered for so many years from many, many different things. And it's really, really not, it's like the back of your mind, so to speak, when it comes to my recovery, when it comes to, uh, you know, whatever addiction I went through, so on and so forth. So, with that being said, um, I think that a lot of people want a label for some reason, because I am not considered, you know, non religious, but because, I have, spoken with atheists, I have spoken with people who are agnostic, I have spoken with people that are in the occult. Um, I have spoken with people that are, Wiccan. I have spoken to people that are, I mean, I'm just a non-judgy person. I don't really care what your belief is as long as you're not hurting people, especially children. And, I get a lot of, people that are atheists, people that are agnostic will tend to, you know, make fun of me or call me crazy because I actually do believe in God, even though I am considered non religious to the outside world. And I do believe in God, and I have dealt with demonic energies, and I do see spirits, and, I have as many people would call, a gift into the spiritual world, as far as being able to see spirits, and being able to walk among spirits and entities. But we all do. You know what I'm saying? We regardless of your beliefs, regardless of what you think, we all do. And at the end of the day, we are temporary. So I know that people are obsessed with labels, but I am considered non-religious. Um, and I have a extremely close relationship with God. I rely on Him with a lot of things, especially when I am feeling depressed. If I am feeling anxious, I do, you know, have conversations with Him, so to speak. A lot of people call that insomnia. A lot of people call, not sleeping at night, insomnia. A lot of people call that, there's something wrong with you, and I prefer to see it as you are having conversations with God, because He needs you to be up, especially with the hours of 2 and 6 being, the hours of Satan. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I suggest you look that up. But a lot of people, again, just don't believe in anything anymore. To be honest with you, and for the individuals that don't believe in anything, but then want to make fun of you for your beliefs, you're not making any sense. You're, truly just, uh, you're not helping yourself, and you're not basically, uh, just, you're not making your statement at all. Like, you're not making your point. Um, as far as, you know, the interesting realms of this book, and the idea behind her speaking on this was because she did a video 2 weeks ago about mental health, and the fraudulence of mental health professionals, the fraudulence of the self-care community, the self-help community. And it's basically to not only keep you away from God, but it is also at its forefront to keep you self-destructive, in a sense, because this epitome of, we need to love ourselves. You need to love yourself before you love somebody else. You need to you know make sure that you are always thinking about yourself. But at the end of the day, it does cause selfishness. It does lead to loneliness, because if you are being entitled and you are being self-centered and you are being selfish. At the end of the day, if you're in a relationship, that partner's not going to want to be around you. That partner is going to find it annoying to be around you. That partner is going to be like, well, where do I fit in here if all you care about is yourself? If it's self-love, this and that, and it's about you, so where do I fit in here? At the end of the day, nobody else does. And if you're in this own little bubble of everything being about you and you being independent, quote unquote, and you know, needing to be self-serving, so then don't even try to be in a relationship, because at the end of the day, it's about give and take. And at the end of the day, you do have to do your due diligence. You do have to make sure that that person is okay. You do have to be a decent human being, you know. And I know that a lot of people poke fun at that and make fun of that. But at the end of the day, people are just wishy-washy when it comes to a lot of aspects of being a human, especially when it comes to relationships. So you are an idiot if you are a woman and married. You are an idiot if you are a man and married. Um, you are considered a whore if you aren't married and single. So where does the line drawn? Because at the end of the day, you know, people can't agree on what's what anymore. So that's why I don't argue with people, because if you can't figure out your own shit, don't come at me when at the end of the day you're not that great of a person either. So I just want people to figure it out before they start attacking other people. I need people to figure it out before they want to be, this badass, so to speak, right? And I think that a lot of people think being a Christian is, memorizing scriptures word for word, yet they haven't read the entire Bible. I think that people believe that being a Christian means you can still play with the devil. You can still play with Satan and have one foot on Satan and then one foot on God, and then expect to be entitled all the way up into heaven. It's a shoe way in, basically. And I just find it interesting that if we look at, the media and how everything is being pushed, and at the end of the day, Christians were spoiled at a given time. And I think people are realizing that now, and people are mad that it's a, demonic world and it's a Satan's playground, but it always has been. This is not new. Um, is it more rampant since the beginning of 2020? Yes, because the walls broke down, and for those of you who aren't religious, the walls did break down, and this is a spiritual world that has walked among the physical world, that is us, that is human beings, that is flesh, that is, you know what I'm saying? So I think people just need to remember that, because a lot of people have forgotten what it is to be a human being anymore. And with the sole push of transhumanism, the sole push of self-hatred and self-loathing and changing yourself for whatever reason you have, whether that's plastic surgery, whether that's changing your personality, whether that's staying addicted to drugs, whether that's, it could be an endless amount of things as to, pushing into transhumanism and changing yourself and believing that you are one thing when you were actually born one thing. You know what I'm saying? There is a lot of uh, pushback in Christians, specifically when it comes to the trans community, when it comes to LGBTQ as a whole, but mainly towards trans, because, at the forefront, the gays, the bis, and the lesbians were the initial attack before trans people decided to push that they needed more rights, push that they needed, A, B, and C. They needed everything. They needed to be entitled. I mean, I'm just being realistic. And there was a lot of demonic notions that come with being, having body dysphoria, because you are battling yourself. And what I try to remind people is that when you battle yourself, in turn, what are you doing? You are battling God, because God is within you, regardless of your religious beliefs. He's not in a building that that we worship a church or whatever. He's not in a building. He's within you. So when people have a relationship with God or try to have a relationship with God, you just need to remember that He is within you. Whether you're listening or not, or whether you care or not, He's there with you. And I think that's why a lot of people are pushing, that we get right with God before, you know, everything is basically doomsday. Everything falls apart, and we're ripping each other to shreds, which we already are. I mean, it is what it is. With everything that I just stated, that is the the tip of the iceberg of what human beings deal with, what issues that we have as a society. If you think about it, everything that we go through, all of the destruction, self destruction, you know, regardless of our beliefs, at the end of the day, whether it comes to the media, whether it comes to social media, whether it comes to um, the different communities of what that does to everybody, whether it's us being divisive, whether it's us, um, attacking each other for every little reason. One by one, the deception of societal norms is breaking it down one by one, one by one, one by one, which is where we're at today with, the purge, with the, you know, absolutely disgusting laws that have just been passed, with the, constant division of our society for no good reason. I mean, at the end of the day, when we die, none of that's going to matter. I don't care that it drives people nuts that I remind everybody that, once in the afterlife, regardless of your beliefs, once in the afterlife, none of that's going to matter. Your political views aren't going to matter. You worshiping the government doesn't matter. You being so hateful, of other people. You uh, needing to prove a point. You needing to be right. You needing to argue with everybody. You being so damn resentful. You having so many fucking burdens that you're carrying that aren't even yours. At the end of the day, once you die, what did you take with you, really? What did you really take with you? What was the whole point of your life if all you were was just bitter, resentful, and angry? And what is exactly did you do? What did you change? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm trying to get at with any type of, whether you think that's a solution, whether you think that that's something that is doing anything? Because at the end of the day, laws are being pushed, laws are passed, agendas are being pushed, things are happening whether we fucking like it or not, you know? Um, and I know that a lot of people get defensive and sensitive. Yes, I'm using the word sensitive when it comes to those that believe in God, those that believe that it is their purpose to push that on other people. It is their purpose to um, memorize every scripture and rip your head off if you do not have that memorized, because they need to argue with every little thing. At the end of the day, that's still a purpose. At the end of the day, if they feel like God is calling them to do that, who the fuck am I to judge? Now, can I get annoyed if someone wants to argue with me over nonsense? Yeah, that's my right as a human being. That's my right as someone who is terminally ill and fatally ill. Yeah, I have absolutely that right to be irritated and annoyed because you're not making any sense. Um, but a lot of people do believe that, especially in the Christian community, that is their um, that is their right, that is their purpose, that is their lot in life that God needs them to do. What I find interesting as well is if you are someone who is, you know, struggling, so to speak, and you are one who preaches about mental health and addiction, so on and so forth, yet you haven't gotten better yourself. Okay? And I know that a lot of Christians, and I've seen this a lot, will use the Bible as an excuse to be addicted to drugs, as an excuse to stay sick with their eating disorder, as an excuse to hold on to their demons at the end of the day. Okay? And at the end of the day, if you are holding on to that void, that it is loneliness, and you do not surrender to God, at the end of the day, that emptiness is what will consume you. Those demons will never let you go because you have to let that go. You can't wait around for that to release. You have to let that go. You have to ask God for help. Or if you are too stubborn to, and you are, you know, religious, or you believe in God and you are just stubborn at the end of the day and just want to do whatever the fuck you want to do, you can't claim Christianity. It's just my opinion. You cannot claim that you are about God, but you prefer to play with demons. You prefer the devil over God. And I know that people are going to be pissed that I'm talking about this. People are going to be pissed, but at the end of the day, when you are terminally ill, there's really nothing other to say. There's really nothing more for me to say other than repeating myself over and over and over again. I mean, what else can I do? You know what I'm saying? What really else can I do? And I know that a lot of people want to poke fun at the fact that I walk by faith, even though it is extremely rare to do this. It is extremely rare for anyone to fully walk by faith and know that God provides regardless. I don't utilize social media for profits. I don't utilize, you know, anything other than, you know, what's really there. You know what I'm saying? I fully walk by faith as my life would allow to. Meaning in all aspects of my life, whether financially, I know that God provides. Whether, um, you know, it's mentally, emotionally, I know that God provides. Whether it comes to my relationship, whether it comes to um, so on and so forth. And I know that God's path is narrow, and it's supposed to be. It is absolutely supposed to be narrow. And I know that, you know, a lot of people just, at the end of the day, don't want to be by themselves, but you live alone and you die alone. So what is the problem? And a lot of people that are religious and believe in God are afraid of death. And this I've never understood, because if you're going into God's arms, or if you're going with God, what is there to be afraid of? And I know that there's the fear of the unknown and the fear of leaving your loved ones behind. But maybe I come from a different avenue simply because I never had my family. I never had someone to latch on long enough as far as family goes, as they were never there for me. They were more worried about being demonic than anything. They were more worried about, you know, their own selfish needs than anything. There was, again, nothing I can do about that. So, with people needing to fill a void, and just at the end of the day, they know what they need to do, but they're still, you know, choosing not to. And there's really only so much you can say and only so much you can do. But I always remind people that mental illness, the mental the mental health field is growingly collapsing, with a lot of mental health professionals, with a lot of people being overwhelmed, overworked, and just quitting, kind of like, the medical field where nurses and doctors are just up and leaving because they just can't do it anymore because they are overworked, overwhelmed, and no one's listening. Um, I can understand from that standpoint, but as far as like the mental health, you know, field goes, it's always been a revolving door where you get used to one psychiatrist, one therapist, they leave. You get used to another one, they leave. You get used to another. It's always been a revolving door. There's really no more to say than that. And then you have people that can afford services, that have the insurance money to afford services, and they choose to throw it away because they prefer to stay sick. They prefer the illness over getting help, over getting any type of stability at the end of the day. It is what it is. And I do believe that this book is a good starting point of realizing that a lot of things are facade, a lot of things are an illusion in a sense, a lot of things that we take in is not even there. Um, and I think the fact that she can throw it back at you with scriptures, with God, with that tells you a lot. And I know that again, a lot of people don't want to hear it, and a lot of people don't give a shit. Um, Allie Beth's book isn't the first Christianity book that I dived into. I had bought um, Ashes and Ice, which is a more known for a Christian book. It is by Tracy Peterson, and if you are someone who is vulnerable to uh, dark energies, demon energies, however you want to place that, and you, in a sense, have lost faith, or you feel like you are losing faith, that is a book to read. That is a it's a bit, it's like a thriller, but it's also something that'll keep you interested, keep you intact, so to speak. For those who want to look into that, but I bought that book uh, when it first came out, when I was able to read large print, and I bought the audiobook because that's a book that I really really enjoy. So if every book that I have in physical book form, I bought the audio for, because it's something that I enjoyed reading. And I think that her ability to have any type of foresight, um, considering her history, and she does speak about it in her book, and her having to have an eating disorder, her to um, being self-destructive, her to uh, trying to find that quote unquote self-love in her college days, and at the end of the day, it really it drove her insane. It drove her to her eating disorder. It drove her to suicidal ideation. It drove her, and at the end of the day, that's kind of what the whole premises of it is. And I know that a lot of people will want to argue, especially mental health professionals, especially so on and so forth. And I too, and the reason my friend decided to send me this is because he remembers when I was getting attacked um, by therapists. I was getting attacked because I am a peer support specialist, and I am backed by many mental health services and mental health centers in uh, Illinois, predominantly, and a lot of them will send their clients, and hospitals will send their patients. They when I was working with people, individually as mentoring, or when I was doing my support groups locally, um, a lot of them would send them my way when they felt they needed an extra type of resource. And a lot of the mental health professionals online would be so angry and go off on me, saying that I basically uh, need to stop what I'm doing. I'm not helpful. I'm not a professional. I didn't read the book. I didn't, go to school for, 12 to 14 years. Did I find a loophole? Yes. Did I experience everything that I speak on? Hell yeah. To me, a credential of experiencing it, a person will do better with, because I went through drug and alcohol addiction. I went through anorexia. I went through self harm. Do you know what I'm saying? I went through everything that, I spoke on. I tried to help other people with, as far as an eating disorder, as far as, all of the above that I just listed. I went through it, and I'm just dealing with the terminal illness at this point. That's the only thing that I'm dealing with. And it's inevitable for me to have bouts of depression and bouts of anxiety with having a terminal illness. Why the fuck wouldn't I? If I didn't have depression and anxiety with having a terminal illness, then there's clearly something wrong with me. I mean, I'm just saying. It doesn't always have to be about mental illness. It doesn't always have to be about mental health. And if mental health and mental illness is pseudoscience, and if you don't know what that is, please look that up, then at the end of the day, what are we really doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really doing? And I think that people oftentimes want to argue with you and belittle you, because, in a sense, they know they are being challenged. They know that you spark some type of emotion for a reason, not for no reason, but for some reason. And a lot of people hate that. A lot of people want you to bow down to their needs, to their values, to their perceptions, to the way they think. And it's bullshit. At the end of the day, it truly is unnecessary. Like, what are we really doing if everybody's going to be a robot and be the same? You know what I'm saying? Like, you get where I'm coming from when I mention that, because that's really where we're going. That's really where we're heading. And I think with cancel culture, and that's being pushed for anyone that gets defensive, anyone that's sensitive, anyone that doesn't like what you have to say. It's kind of interesting with that concept. So even though for a lot of people it doesn't really exist, but you can't tell me that people that are sensitive and defensive and want to hold on to a grudge, they don't exist. They do. They absolutely do exist. I am just, going through my notes here. And I think that I think that she clearly wants to try every which way in her core to look at every side as much as feasible as possible, with all of the laws that are being passed at the moment and with everything that's going on. But at the same time, she has to know in her best interest of what being a believer, being someone that calls, like, literally answers to God, literally. That is kind of the whole pinnacle of being a Christian or being a believer, someone that literally can bounce off and pivot off demons and pivot off individuals that are so sensitive and demonic and defensive and don't like what you have to say. Um, but I understand why she did mention that a lot of people just not only aren't who they say they are, but a lot of people are followers, but in a different light. Like, people make fun of those of us whether you're religious or not, and you have a relationship with God, you know, they make fun of us, yet they're followers as well. They just follow a different, you know, type of people. You know what I'm saying? Like they are very much so followers. Um, and I try to listen to a lot of different people, you know, regardless of their, you know, views, regardless of their religion. And I know that a lot of atheists don't want to believe that they're a religion, but you absolutely are. Um, at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is, and there's really only so much that can be done. And I don't believe in spreading hate towards other people, regardless of what that may be, regardless of, you know, what that might entail, what that might be, you know, your reasoning for spreading hate, your reasoning for giving someone your 2 cents, so on and so forth. Um, I think we as a whole need to remember too that regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your walk of life, so to speak, agendas are going to be pushed, laws are going to be passed, things are going to happen for the reasons that they are. We can't know all the answers. We're not supposed to. Until we are gone, we will know. Okay? And at the end of the day, those of you that are pushing for the answers and wanting the truth, a lot of you guys can't deal with it anyways. And a lot of you, no, that's not true, or that can't be right. Like, we have to pick one. I know that a lot of people are wishy-washy. A lot of people are back and forth. A lot of people are, I don't know what to make of this. Then start there. Truly, truly start there, because it's a lot to take in. It truly is. And this is why I don't believe in pushing my beliefs on other people. This is why I don't believe in exposing the truth. This is why I don't believe in um, trying to you know, quote unquote, wake up society, trying to enlighten society, which is the term I would be using. But that is because a lot of people can't take it, and the overwhelmingness can cause you to be consumed in a deep depression, and a lot of people have taken their own lives because of this, because of, you know, the virus and the pandemic, and because of everything that's coming out, and the reality of some shit. A lot of people did take their own lives because they're like, well, screw this shit. I'm not dealing with it. I'd rather not. I'd rather just not deal with it and just go. Okay? That is the main reason why I don't do that. Why I don't push my beliefs on other people, because it can cause a severe depression. Do I speak on what I went through as a kid with, you know, being a part of a satanic background, being um, a part of the brutality of that, being a part of that, you know, portion in my family? Do I talk about breaking that cycle? Yes. Do I talk about the details in which, you know, like, cannot be explained on YouTube, or anywhere else for that matter, besides my podcast? I absolutely do, because it needs to be told, because a lot of people have that unfortunate misconception that it only happens with Hollywood, it only happens with elites, it only happens with, you know, the industry. It absolutely does not. It starts there, it doesn't mean it has to end there. So, with that being said, I will let you guys go, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Alright, love you guys.